Back to another Photo Nation Photoshop tutorial. Hey, today is a requested video from one of my subscribers. They want to know how to lighten or darken a picture. Let's say you are on an event and you're photographing a wedding, and I have an example of a wedding picture here, and your settings was off and you just didn't realize it, and some of the pictures came out just a little darker than you thought. Don't panic. It's better to underexpose with digital than to overexpose. Once you overexpose, you blow out all of the highlights. But if you underexpose, you can bring those pictures back. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that and how to apply that picture to other images without doing the same steps over and over again by creating the action. So let's get started.
You are entering Photo Nation.
Alright, so see, I have a picture here, and the exposure is pretty good. Let's go and look at the exposure. So I'm going to go to my histogram here, and this shows me the exposure. Now the exposure, I think it's a little under, because this line should actually come all the way over here in the graph, but it shows me that it's underexposed. So we're going to fix that. I'm just going to show you a couple of ways that we can do that. And one of the ways is let's do this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate the layer. I always like to protect the integrity of the main layer. So once we've duplicated that layer, now there's a few things we can do. So I can go to Image, Adjustments, and go back here. The contrast, it's very limited, so I wouldn't use. The two I use the most are Levels, and you see the keyboard shortcut is Command L on Mac or Control L on PC. Or Curves, the same, Command M or Control M. So those are probably the two that I'm going to use. And so I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcuts. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go here and duplicate that layer. Right? So once I duplicate it, I'm going to hit, let's do both of them. Let's do Command M. And you see here it shows you a graph. Now, you can leave it on default, but you can go in here and increase the highlights and the shadows and different things like that. But I normally don't play with that too much, so we're going to leave it on default. You can play with that and just see what the results you get. Now, a lot of people like using curves, because here, and normally what I do is just find the center point here, just left click and grab it. And you can go down, make it darker, or opposite way and make it lighter. Now you can play with some of these here, make it brighter or darker, wherever you want. You see how it's messing with the contrast of her dress. So that's a little more advanced. So I'm gonna hit cancel and show you my favorite way of doing it. Go back up to the original image in my history, and we're going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to hit Command L. It's my favorite one to use. So once that comes up, it's levels. I leave it in default, leave it there. You can change to different things, but leave it on RGB as your red, greens, and blues. You just want to keep it there. It shows you the graph just like it shows you the graph here. It shows you the graph there. Now we can play with it. Over here on the left are your darks. If you go to the right, it gets darker. Let's bring it back. In the center, it's your midtones. Let's do it. See if I can grab it here. That's your midtones. And over here are your whites. And you can bring it up, you can bring it down. I'm going to cancel that. Do the exact same thing again. Just so we can start over. Command L. So now that you know this is your darks, midtones, your whites or highlights. So what I'm going to do, I'm looking at the picture and I just kind of do it by eyeball, but the graph you see right here on this part of the graph is pretty good, but as it flats line, that means it's underexposed. What I normally do is start with the center point. I know I want to brighten it, so I'm going to take the midtones to the left and the whites or highlights to the left. If I wanted to darken it, I would take the darks or shadows to the right. Let's show you. I can actually grab it and it'll darken it for me. So let's go back. So let's see if we can improve upon this picture. I think it looks pretty good. It's not that bad. So here's your picture. And we're going to start with the midtones. I like to do that. The midtones, I like to see if I could brighten up this midtone area some more. Okay, so I'm going to start with the midtones here. And I want to see if I could lighten some of the midtones up. Now, if you go too far with your midtones, you'll change the contrast of a dress. So we're just going to take that and go just a little bit. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it so you can see. Lighten it up, but you don't want to make her too light. So I'm looking at the background. I'm also looking at her face. I don't want to go too much. So let's bring the brightness up here on her. And watch her dress, because you don't want to blow out the highlights of her dress. So let's come up just a little more on the midtones. Now, look like I didn't make much changes, but if you hit the preview button here, you can turn it off and see it was dark, turn it back on. So it improved the picture a lot. So I like that. So that's just one way of doing it. So let's show you another way of doing it. So we're going to hit cancel. And I'm going to go back to the original. Go right back there. So now that's how you would, make changes to one image. But what if you wanted to make changes to more than one image? And so let's just bring in a couple more images and just see. And I'm going to show you again how to do this. And we're going to make what's called an adjustment layer, where you fix one and just bring it on to the next one. So let's go and open up a few more images. Let's see, maybe that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. So let's open those images up. Okay, so let's see if we can find our original image again. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to duplicate our image, but this time instead of hitting Command L on the keyboard, we're going to create an action. And the way we create an action is we come over here to the actions palette. Now under the action palette, they have a lot of preset stuff here, but we're going to create one on our own. So here, if you go here, and let's see if the tag is going to come up, the little pop-up tip. It says create a new action. So we click that, we're going to create a new action. So you can name it. I'm just going to name it light. How about that? Now you have, it's a default action, that's okay. Now you can do that, or you can actually create a keyboard shortcut. Just for giggles, let's actually create a keyboard shortcut. So I'm gonna pick F6 because it's clear on the reason why I selected F6 because it's the only one of the keyboards that doesn't have something else attached to it. So I'm gonna choose that. Notice they have a record button. So as soon as I hit this record button, right over here it's a red button and it's gonna record my steps. So let's just hit record and say okay. Now see it say recording. So you don't have to rush, you don't have to worry. It's only going to record the steps that you do. So one of the first things I'm going to do is duplicate the image, and as I'm doing this, you notice it's recording it. So as there's our action light, and it's just recorded that I duplicated, right? So the next thing I'm going to do, I could hit Command L, but I want to show you a different way. We're going to go to the adjustment layer. Command L is when you want to affect or fix one image, but if you want to apply that fix to multiple images, you have to create an adjustment layer. So we come right here And let's see if the little balloon tip is going to come up for you. It says create an adjustment layer. So we're going to do that, and we're going to come down to the same L for levels, and it's going to bring this dialog box up. Now it's showing you the same thing, and if you look in our layers palette, it's created an adjustment layer for us. And if you look right here, it's recording it, and it said adjustment layer. So it's every time you do something, it's going to record that, and it's going to be handy in a second. I'll show you how to use it. So let's see if we can just make some adjustment to this image. So I'm going to come here. I always start with the mid-tones. You don't have to, but I like to look at my background. But I'm watching her dress and her face at the same time. I think that's a great improvement right there. Now I'm going to come up to the highlights, and just for giggles, let's bring it all the way over and show you. If you go too far, you can blow out your highlights, so you don't want to do that. So it's going to come in just a little bit, and I'm just eyeballing it, and I think that's okay. So I'm going to leave it just like that. There's nothing else I have to do. Stop recording. Now, if I go back to the original, where it was dark, you see this was the adjustment we made, and it was dark. Remember, we created an action for it, and we made a keyboard shortcut. Do you remember what that keyboard shortcut was? It was F6 on the keyboard. So what we have to do is just come over here and just hit F6 on the keyboard, and it should do that action for us. Wow, look at that. So only thing we did was hit F6. So I'm going to go back and do it again. I'm just going to hit F6 keyboard shortcut, what we just created. Now. And it does that adjustment for you, which is pretty cool. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to create another type of action where you can do the same thing, but we're going to actually, now with this adjustment layer, we can drag this over to other images and it'll fix it. Let's just show you one for giggles here. Let's bring another one out. Let's bring one more picture out here. Let's say, for example, this one. Now, I can do Control L to fix this individual picture, but why? When I've created that adjustment layer, right? So I just come over here, click this, and all I have to do is hit F6 on my keyboard, and it fixed that picture, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's go back. I'm gonna bring it back here. Now, what I want to do is using this same picture, I want to go back into history, and I'm just going to show you a different way of doing it. Same effect, just another way of doing it. Keyboard shortcut again is just like Control L, where you fix one individual picture. And so the easier way of doing it is just to create another action. And this time we're going to apply it to the other images. So let's do that one. So we're back at the original. I'm going to close this just so it's not confusing. And so we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go to the actions. We're going to go right here, create a new action. And this time we're going to call it light adjust. For adjustment. So now what I'm going to do is hit record. Now I'm not going to put a keyboard shortcut on it because we're going to see it, the name, in the action palette once I create it. Right? So now you see light ADJ. So it's recording everything I'm doing. So let's come here. I'm going to duplicate the layer. You can see it happening right there as I do it. And I'm not going to hit Command L. I'm going to come over here and do an adjustment layer. So we go here, we go to light. Just go ahead and kind of eyeball it and do my adjustments. If I think she's a little too bright, I can bring it down here and bring the lightness up there. And it's done. And so we just stop recording. So you've created that. So let's go back here to the original where it was dark and only the original layer. Come to our action palette, and the only thing we have to do is find the one we created. That was a light, and that was a light adjustment. The light adjustment, remember, apply that same adjustment to other images taken, at the same event or in the same lighting situation. So let's do it. Let's try it, see how it works. So this time, instead of hitting F6, we're going to hit and highlight light adjustment. And now all I have to do is hit play, and it's going to recreate everything that I did. So let's just hit play. And really fast, it does all of those steps, and it's done. So let's bring it over and let's see if we can do something else. Now, click here, make sure we're on the original, which we are. Come back here, because you want to get back to your adjustment layer. Now, you want to affect this image. All you have to do is drag that adjustment layer over to this one, right? And voila, it's done it. I'm going to close this one because we don't need it right now. So it's done it. It's brought it over here. Now, what's so cool about an adjustment layer, if you just come and click right here, let's say if you thought it was too light or too dark, remember, it's an adjustment layer. Just like what it applies, it's adjustable. So just double click here, and now it gives you the dialog box, and you can come back and readjust, which is really cool. And it's a done deal. Okay, so let's close this and let's go see if we can apply it on some other images. So we have some other images here. We're just getting the people coming down the aisle. And she thought it was a little dark. She thought she could improve upon the lighting. Remember, she already did adjustments. She could hit F6 on her keyboard, but let's go here to the adjustment layer that we created. And we're on this image right here. This image. So we're on our adjustment action, and I just have to push the button. Created the adjustment that we did on the previous image. Now, let's say if you thought that was too light or too dark, only thing you do is double click here on this crown. It brings it up, and then you can make whatever adjustments you want. I'm going to make it a little lighter. So, which is really cool. Now, the best thing about an adjustment layer, now if I have to do all of these, I don't want to have to go over there and hit the button on all of those. So let's just bring this one down, and let's come over here. Now, I'm still highlighted on this one. That's the way you see that, because if I was highlighted over here, you would see nothing, right? You would see nothing. So let's go over here. You want to be able to see your adjustment layer, but I'm just going to bring it down here. And what we need to do is just grab our adjustment layer and just drag it over to the next layer. And then you can do the same thing. You can just, now I don't need this one anymore because I've already fixed it. And for you, you would, yes, save changes. You would hit save, but I'm gonna hit don't save because I'm not gonna use them again. But I still have my adjustment layer, right? So all I have to do is drag it to the next image, right? And remember, if you thought it was too light or too dark, you just double click here and you can bring it down and make that adjustment, which is really cool. All right, so we've gotten that one done. Nope, I don't want to save changes, which if you were fixing your pictures, you would want to save the changes. So let's bring it over here again, and let's drag it over. Bam, there you have it. So now you just fix multiple images. You just fix one image and just apply that to your other images, and then you just save the changes, which I don't want to save the changes on these images. So, which is really cool. So, there you have it. That's just another way of doing it. So I've showed you how to just do Control L or Command L. I've showed you how to create an action for a keyboard shortcut. And I've showed you how to make an adjustment layer with the adjustments, and you can apply that action to other ones. So let's do it again. Let's just see if everything is still working to the way we did it. So we're gonna go back up here to the original where we start. Right, we're gonna go to our actions. We can hit, if it was just one image, we can hit F6 on our keyboard that we created. So I'm gonna hit F6. That fixed. So let's go back here. Go back to the original. I'm gonna hit F6 on my keyboard, and that fixes it. So, or let's go back to the original. You can come back here to the actions, find which one you want, and we're gonna do light adjustments, and just hit play, and it's gonna fix the image that you recorded to what lightness you wanted. But remember, it's an adjustment layer, so just double click here, and you can make a quick adjustment to it. See it? So I think it's really cool. So next time you go out on an event, remember it's better to underexpose than to overexpose. I don't like to use Photoshop to fix things. I like to use Photoshop to enhance. So I like to get it right in the camera as best as I can, but sometimes it happens. Maybe your monitor on the back of your camera is a little dark, and so this would tell you may need to lighten it up because you thought it was okay. One of the things that's really cool in the camera is the histogram. I like to go back to the histogram here and look at the histogram and make sure I can tell it's about a half a stop underexposed just by looking at the histogram in the camera once I take the first picture. So, but if you're not familiar with the histogram, you get back, they're a little darker than you want, don't panic. Remember, just come here, create it. If it's just one, you can hit Command L, make your adjustment if it's just one or two images. But remember, if it's multiple images, you want to come down here to the adjustment layer, hit that, make your adjustments, right? Then with the adjustment layer, you can just drag and drop and apply it to other images. So let's get another image just for giggles here. We've done that one, so let's just get another one. Let's get this one, that's fine. And so just make sure you clicked on the one that you created the adjustment layer for, drag and drop. And if you think it's too light or too dark, so you still have the option to go in and make little small adjustments. So I hope that helps. So next time you go to a wedding, you don't have to panic. You know, you can come back in and you can make, little small adjustments in Photoshop. So that's going to do it. And I hope, you've gotten something out of it. And if you did, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to be notified on the next Photoshop tutorial, hit that subscribe button. And hey, we'll see you in the next one. Later.